to remember is if you're a junior or you're the parent of a junior tennis player, you want to make sure you're getting a junior racket. And you can notice it's a junior racket from the smaller grip and the smaller head and the general smaller body of the racket. But say you're a player that's 12 and up, you need to go ahead and go with the full-size racket. Next thing you want to keep in mind is the string pattern of the racket. Tennis rackets come in an open and a closed string pattern. This is an example of a closed string pattern, and this is an example of an open string pattern. So on an open string pattern, you're usually going to have a 16 by 19 string pattern. So that means there's 16 mains, okay? That means there's 16 strings going across the front of the racket, and then there's 19 crosses going across the racket, right, like this. And typically with a closed string pattern, you're going to have 18 mains and 20 crosses. Now there are some slight variances with the strings, like sometimes you can see a 14 by 20 string pattern or an 18 by 21 string pattern, etc., etc. But the 16-19 string pattern and the 18-20 string pattern are the two main string patterns that we see with an open string pattern and a closed string pattern. So with an open string pattern, you're going to get more power, you're going to get more spin, because you have to imagine that the ball is staying on the strings for a lower amount of time. So that's going to increase the spring effect of the ball off the racket. And that's going to increase your spin, and that's going to increase your power. Now what you have to think of with the closed string pattern is that there's more strings on the racket. So that means the ball is going to be on the string bed longer, and that's going to increase things like touch, feel, control, and accuracy. But at the end of the day, you need to experiment with both string patterns and see which ones you like better. To consider when selecting a racket is the head size. This front part of the racket where the strings are, this is called a head. A different size head can significantly affect your playability with the racket and can significantly affect your performance and how a racket plays when you're playing tennis. So this racket right here, this is a 100 square inch head size, and this head would fall into the category of a tweener racket. A tweener racket is kind of in between a beginner racket and an advanced racket. And this larger 100 square inch head is going to help you with things like power. Now, this is a 97 square inch head, and this is an advanced control racket. And usually more advanced players are going to use a smaller head because it can help with control, and you can swing out on the ball without it going out. So think about your goals with tennis and where you are with your tennis game, and whether you do better with a more accurate and precise small square inch head size or a more powerful large 100 plus square inch head size. One thing that you're really going to have to consider when you're selecting a racket is if you want more power or more control. And one thing that significantly affects the power or control of a racket is the beam. So if a racket has a thick beam like this racket right here, it's going to create more power. And if the racket has a thin beam like this racket right here, it's going to create more control. Another crucial thing about selecting a racket is making sure you have the proper grip. So there's many different types of grips made for different tennis rackets, and you need to experiment with different grips to see which one makes you the most comfortable. And another thing is you want to make sure your grip is big enough. And one test to make sure that your grip is big enough is putting your thumb in between the grip. And if you can put your thumb in between here, that means you have a big enough grip. Your strings can significantly affect your performance when you're playing tennis. And there's many different types of string options for different goals for playing tennis. So some people, they break strings a lot. And for that particular player, they're gonna probably wanna go with a poly. A poly string is very durable, and it's gonna help you not break strings. And the second string I'd like to talk about is synthetic gut. Synthetic gut is a good all-around string that's at a great price point. The third one is multi-filament. A multi-filament is a little bit higher on the price range, but gives you more power, better feel, better spin, and is an all-around great string. And the third one is the most luxury and high-end option, which is natural gut. Natural gut is made from cow guts, and it gives you the most feel, the most power, the most spin, and is all around the best string if you can't afford it. You can also get a hybrid setup where you're using a combination of 2 strings. Often players on tour get a combination of a multi-filament string and a natural gut string, and either the crosses or the mains of the tennis racket. So if you want to combine different strings, that's definitely possible. All you need to do is ask for a hybrid string setup. The last thing to consider is your string tension. Your string tension is how tight you string the strings of your racket. And your string tension is measured in pounds. So string tensions can range in a range of 20 to 65 pounds or even higher than that. But you have to remember that a lower tension equals more power and less forgiveness, and a higher string tension can give you more control, but that's also going to deaden the feel, and that's also going to decrease the power. So usually you want to err on the side of caution and get a higher string tension, but it's all a matter of experimentation and seeing what fits best for you and what you like to play with the most. With all that being said, ultimately selecting a tennis racket that's going to be best for you is all about experimentation. So most tennis shops and most of the major tennis websites have demo programs. So demo rackets that you think you would be interested in, and start where you're at and think, would I like more control, or would I like more power, or would I like more spin, or whatever that may be. And then that'll be the first step in selecting the right racket for you that's going to help you play your best.